like games, but I am terrible at games. I find that as soon as I start playing video games with someone, they get instantly enraged at me. And I've been trying to figure out why exactly that is. So I've compiled a list of reasons why people think that I'm so terrible at games. And the first reason is that I have a visual impairment. And I think that that is a completely fair criticism to my ability to play video games. I can't see the screen the same as other people, and as a result, I don't have the same experience. On top of that, I have really, really poor motor skills and spatial awareness. I just don't have as fast reaction times, and that just technically leads to a poor ability to play games. I also have a very low attachment to the traditional storylines of games, and I find myself wandering off into my own little world and doing things that have nothing to do with the game that's actually being played. So I thought there must be something I can do about this. There has to be other people who have similar problems to me. So what I did was, with a friend of mine, we created a game for the Game Jam in 2012, and that game's called Facehugger. So Facehugger is just your average voice-controlled stealth game. You play that monster who is trying to hug all of these little bird creatures, but they're trying to kill you. And the only way, once you hug them, they become friendly and they become your friend, as one does when being hugged. And you have to sneak up on them by using your voice. It's controlled by pitch and volume. However, if you come too close to them, then they'll hear you and they'll start chasing after you. So this is a type of game that allows people who might not feel a particular attachment to pressing a button and seeing their reaction on screen. It allows them to get involved in the game that they're actually doing. And I'm definitely not the first person to think of this. There's tons of consoles out there now, the Wii, the Kinect, all these motion-based consoles and touch-based devices. Most of us have a phone that we interact with on a somewhat regular basis. And so what are these consoles doing to the gaming demographic? If we take a look at men and women, we can see that men are pretty evenly spaced throughout each of the major consoles, but women drastically prefer using the Wii. And previously, women just weren't that involved in video gaming, and this is really allowing them to take part in something. And it doesn't really end with that. 53% of tablet users are actually women, and 23% are elderly. And the elderly are actually much more active when playing video games. In general, 64% of them are active daily, which is much higher than other people. But even despite this, still only 2 out of every 5 people who play games are female. And when you think about video games, you think of a very specific demographic. You think of men between the ages of 18 and 35. But if you take out video and you're left with games, who doesn't like playing games? Games are great. So why is that? Different people are just engaged in different ways. Some people are engaged, through traditional games by pressing a button, and they enjoy the visual aesthetic. But other people need to be interacted with in different ways in order to get the maximum amount of enjoyment out of their experience. So I believe we can enrich any experience. I believe it's not limited to video games, and we just really have to push it out and see what other kinds of experiences we can start to enjoy. So this led me to thinking about my personal experience. And as I mentioned before, I have a visual impairment, so my view on the world is what I feel is drastically different than other people's. I constantly get asked what I can see or how my vision is, and it's just very hard to explain because I have no frame of reference. I've never been able to see like most of you, so I don't know how my vision is. But what about other people's experiences? Many people have a similar type of alternate experience to everyone else. So this really got me thinking about synesthesia. And some of you might know that's the condition where your brain crosses 2 of your senses. So this can be crossing taste and sound, or like hearing colors. So I got thinking about using this to create a new experience that that more people could enjoy. So what I did was I created the musical umbrella. And this is an umbrella you take out with you when it's raining, and when the rain hits each of the panels, it makes a noise. So it makes beautiful music when you're out in the rain, and this really allows people who might not have, like most of us, enjoyed going out in the rain. They actually, are excited, waiting for a rainy day so they can give this a shot. So this really pushed me to start framing things in a new perspective, and I started thinking of things that I don't necessarily like that I can make myself like by creating a new perspective. And obviously I thought of breakfast. I just don't really like breakfast. There's nothing inherently wrong with breakfast. I just never feel like I have time. And I just, not particularly attracted to breakfast foods. So I decided to make a list of things that are required in order to make breakfast good. And first, I decided that it has to have minimal effort. Let's face it, I am just lazy. It has to have maximum deliciousness, because there's no point in eating breakfast unless it's delicious. And it has to be tangibly better than not having breakfast. I'm a very tangible person. I need to have a reason why it's good for me to eat breakfast. And it also must contain, an adequate amount of whimsicality, because that's just something I enjoy, and it makes every experience better. So with a friend of mine at Concordia University, we created the breakfast machine. The breakfast machine goes on the internet, and it finds out what the local weather is like that day, and it makes you breakfast according to what the weather is like. So to me, this was a very tangible way to, I get more than just breakfast out of this. I get to know what the weather is like, which saves me time. And it's really cool. And it made me start looking forward to breakfast as something I really want to do. But what about things that everybody hates? Because it's really, let's face it, not that difficult to start liking breakfast. There are much worse things in this world. So I thought of something that, is a problem that mostly plagues, people living in Canadian winters or other cold places. And, as I mentioned, before my visual impairment, I tend to step in puddles a lot. It is just a thing that I do, and I often find myself with soggy shoes and soggy feet. And I know for a fact that other people do this too, potentially not with the same degree of frequency as me, but it does happen. So I am working on right now the soggy shoe machine. And this is a machine where you put your soggy socks or soggy shoes onto it, and it makes you a nice, pleasant, warm beverage based on how soggy your feet were and potentially how miserable you were on your way over to the machine. So, with this machine, I hope that I can, not only be okay with getting soggy feet, but I might even come to really enjoy it. But it doesn't really have to be that complicated. You don't have to build a massive contraption to enjoy an experience that you might not otherwise enjoy. I'm a product of the technology era, and I get enraged when my, not so old phone takes 30 seconds to load my text messages. So I decided to frame this in a new perspective by trying to guess what the person who is sending me a text message is going to say. So I'll write down the text message while I'm waiting for my phone to load it. And now I find I don't actually even want a new phone because I started to really, really enjoy that experience. It's a really sense of play about how much you think you know someone. So are all these things better experiences? It's obviously subjective, and that's really what this is all about. I just believe that we are only actually enjoying a fraction of the potential experiences that we have. Thank you.